The morning sun of Kepler 442b painted the sky in shades of purple and gold. Kim Tae-ho stood on the observation deck of the new Seoul Colony Administration Building, watching the daily life unfold below him. Children ran through the streets, while their parents prepared for another day of work in the quantum mineral mines. Everything looked peaceful and normal. Tae-ho had been the colony administrator for 8 years now. He remembered when the first settlers arrived 30 years ago. Back then, this world was just rocks and strange crystal formations. Now it was home to 50,000 humans who had built something beautiful on this distant planet. The crystal formations were not just rocks. They were the Vorthak, a species of living beings made of silicon and rare metals. Dr. Park Min-ji had been the first human to realize these crystals were alive and intelligent. That discovery changed everything. Min-ji walked into the observation deck carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Tae-ho and joined him at the window. Her work with the Vorthak had made her famous throughout human space. She could communicate with them through light patterns and sound frequencies. "The Vorthak elders want to meet with you today," Min-ji said. "They have something important to discuss." Tae-ho nodded. The Vorthak had been excellent neighbors. They helped humans find the best mineral deposits, and in return, humans shared their technology. It was the perfect partnership. Down in the communications center, Lee Dong-woo was monitoring the daily transmissions from Earth. The quantum relay network allowed messages to travel across space, but it took time. Earth was 1200 light years away. Even the fastest messages took months to arrive. Dong-woo was young and eager. He had volunteered for colony service because he wanted to be part of something bigger than himself. His job was to maintain contact with Earth and coordinate with other human colonies in the sector. The morning routine was interrupted by alarms. Dong-woo's instruments detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the star system. Ships were coming out of hyperspace. Many ships. He ran to the main display and activated the long-range scanners. What he saw made his blood freeze. 12 different types of alien vessels in perfect formation. These were not exploration ships or trading vessels. These were warships. The largest ship was 5 kilometers long with weapon ports covering its hull. Smaller vessels surrounded it like predators surrounding prey. Dong-woo had never seen anything like it outside of military training videos. He activated the colony-wide communication system. "Administrator Kim to the communication center. Immediately. We have unknown vessels approaching our system." Tae-ho arrived within minutes, followed by Min-ji and several other department heads. They gathered around the main display and watched in silence as the alien fleet moved closer to their world. "How many ships?" Tae-ho asked. 47 confirmed. "Vessels," Dong-woo replied. "Multiple species represented. This is not a single race attacking us. This is an alliance." The lead ship opened a communication channel. The image that appeared on screen made several people step backward. The alien was reptilian with scales that shifted color and eyes like black holes. Its voice was deep and filled with menace. "I am High Commander Vextar of the Skarn Empire. You are speaking to the hegemony fleet representing 12 species united in conquest. Your species calls this world New Seoul. We call it Target Designation 7. Tae-ho stepped forward. "This is Administrator Kim Tae-ho of the New Seoul Colony. We are a peaceful settlement under the protection of Earth. What do you want?" Vextar showed what might have been a smile. "Protection of Earth means nothing here, human. Your homeworld is 1200 light years away. Even if they knew you were under attack, help would take years to arrive. We want the quantum minerals beneath your world. You have 72 hours to evacuate every human from this planet." "And if we refuse?" Tae-ho asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then you die. All of you. We will take the minerals from your bones if necessary." The communication ended. The room was silent except for the humming of equipment. Everyone looked at Tae-ho, waiting for his response. Min-ji spoke first. "We need to contact the Vorthak. They have underground cities throughout the planet. Maybe they can help hide our people." "We need to evacuate," said Dr. Yoon from the medical center. "Get as many people off-world as possible." "We need to fight," said Security Chief Lim. "This is our home. We built it with our own hands. Taeho raised his hand for silence. We do all three. Minji, contact the Vorthak elders immediately. Dr. Yoon, begin evacuation procedures. Start with the children and elderly. Chief Lim, prepare our defenses, but remember we are a mining colony, not a military base. The next hours passed in controlled chaos. Evacuation ships launched every 15 minutes carrying civilians toward the outer planets. The Vorthak agreed to hide some humans in their underground cities. The colony's small security force prepared defensive positions around the main settlements. Dongwu worked frantically at his communication station. The hegemony fleet was jamming most transmissions, but he had one chance. The quantum burst transmitter could send a single message through hyperspace. It would drain all power from the communication center, but the message would reach Earth eventually. What should I say? He asked Taeho. The administrator thought for a moment. Keep it simple. Tell them what happened. Tell them we need help. Dongwu typed the message. New Seoul under attack. Hegemony fleet. Send help. We are dying. He hesitated before hitting the transmission button. This message would be their last contact with Earth for a long time, maybe forever. Send it, Taeho said. The quantum burst transmitter activated. Every light in the communication center went dark as power flowed into the transmission array. In a flash of blue light, the message shot into hyperspace toward Earth. Outside, the first hegemony dropships entered the atmosphere. They looked like metal teardrops falling from the purple sky. Each one carried hundreds of alien soldiers ready to claim their new world. The battle for New Seoul had begun. The colonists did not know their message would take 3 years to reach Earth. They did not know that Earth had changed dramatically since they left. They only knew they were alone against impossible odds, but they would fight anyway, because this was their home, and humans do not surrender their homes without a battle. The last thing Dongwu did before the communications center was destroyed was to activate the automatic beacon. It would broadcast continuously, marking their location for any rescue force that might someday come looking for them. He did not know that Earth was already preparing forces that would make the hegemony fleet look like children playing with toys. The colonists of New Seoul were about to learn what it meant to be part of humanity. 3 years after the message from New Seoul was sent, Admiral Choi Hyun-woo stood in the war room deep inside Luna Command. The moon had been turned into one giant fortress after the resource wars ended. Every crater now held weapon systems. Every mountain hid bunkers filled with soldiers. The message from New Seoul played on the main screen for the 100th time. Dongwu's voice echoed in the silent room. New Seoul under attack, hegemony fleet, send help, we are dying. But there was more than just that desperate plea. The hegemony had been broadcasting their own messages across space. They bragged about destroying human settlements. They showed videos of burning colonies. They promised to wipe humanity from the stars. Earth was not the same world that had sent peaceful colonists to distant planets decades ago. Climate change had flooded the coasts. Wars over water and food had killed billions. Only the strongest, humans, survived. Only the smartest adapted. Only the most determined kept fighting. The old United Nations was gone. In its place stood the Terran Dominion, a government built for one purpose: survival. Every human child learned to fight before they learned to read. Every adult served in the military for at least 5 years. Every settlement was a fortress, ready for war. Hyun-woo had been born during the water wars of 2087. His parents died defending Seoul from raiders who wanted the city's water purification plants. He grew up in military schools where failure meant death. He learned that peace was just the time between battles. Show me the fleet status, he ordered. The holographic display filled with images of Earth's newest warships, 50 vessels that looked more like metal predators than anything humans had built before. Each ship was powered by a controlled black hole engine. Each ship carried weapons that could crack planets in half. Captain Song Ji-hai entered the war room carrying the sealed orders from the Dominion Council. She was young for a captain, only 32 years old, but she had earned her rank fighting pirates in the Outer Rim. Her ship, the dreadnought Incheon's Fury, was the most powerful vessel humanity had ever built. The orders came through, Jihai said, handing the datapad to Hyunwoo. We have full authority to respond. Hyunwoo read the orders silently. They were simple and direct. Recover New Seoul. Eliminate the hegemony threat. Show the galaxy what happens when humans protect their own. How long to reach New Seoul? Itaimai asked. 3 months at maximum hyperspace velocity, Jihai replied. But the fleet needs 2 weeks to finish loading supplies and ammunition. Fleet Commander Kang Bo-young walked to the central display. She was 45 years old and had never lost a battle. During the corporate wars, she had destroyed entire armies using nothing but mining equipment and civilian volunteers. Now, she commanded the most dangerous military force in human history. The enemy thinks we are still the peaceful species that left Earth 50 years ago, Bo-young said. They think humans are soft because we prefer talking to fighting. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The 3 years since the message arrived had not been wasted. Every piece of information about the hegemony had been studied. Every member species had been analyzed. Every weakness had been identified. Dr. Bae Soo-jin ran the xenopsychology division from a bunker beneath the Sahara Desert. Her team had spent years learning how alien minds worked. They knew which sounds caused fear in reptilian brains. They knew which colors made insect species panic. They knew how to break enemy morale without firing a shot. The Skarn Empire leads the hegemony, Soo-jin reported to the command staff. They are predators who respect only strength. They use fear to control the other 11 species in their alliance. If we destroy their leadership, the alliance will collapse. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Seok-jin prepared his Special Forces unit for the coming mission. These were not regular soldiers. They were humans who had volunteered for genetic modification, enhanced reflexes, improved healing, resistance to radiation and poison. They could survive in space without suits for short periods. They could fight in any environment. We don't take prisoners, Seok-jin told his team. We don't negotiate. We don't show mercy. The enemy killed our people, we kill them back. All of them. The Retribution fleet gathered in Earth orbit like a swarm of metal sharks. Each ship carried a crew trained since childhood for war. Each weapon system had been tested against captured alien technology. Each soldier knew that failure meant the extinction of humanity. But the fleet was only part of Earth's response. Yaping. In the Pacific Ocean, automated factories built war machines 24 hours a day. In the asteroid belt, mining ships gathered raw materials for more weapons. On Mars, training camps produced new soldiers every month. Humanity had learned the most important lesson of survival. When someone threatens your family, you destroy them completely. You destroy them so thoroughly that no one else ever thinks about threatening your family again. The old humans would have tried diplomacy first. They would have sent negotiators and peace offerings. They would have looked for compromise and understanding. The new humans knew better. The galaxy was full of species that saw kindness as weakness. They saw peace as an invitation to attack. They saw mercy as stupidity. 3 years ago, the humans of New Seoul had sent a desperate plea for help. Today, the humans of Earth were sending an answer. Not words of comfort or promises of rescue, but 50 warships filled with genetically enhanced soldiers carrying weapons that could sterilize entire worlds. Admiral Hyunwoo gave the final order. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Set course for New Seoul. Maximum speed. The Retribution fleet disappeared into hyperspace in flashes of blue light. Behind them, Earth continued building more ships, training more soldiers, and preparing for the war that would decide humanity's place in the galaxy. The hegemony had made one critical mistake. They had attacked humans and expected no response. They thought Earth was too far away to matter. They thought humans were too weak to fight back. They were about to discover that humans were the children of a death world. A planet so hostile that only the strongest, smartest, and most determined species could survive there. A world that had spent millions of years creating the perfect predators. Now those predators were coming for revenge, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. The hunt had begun. The hegemony patrol ship Bone Crusher was making its routine inspection of Sector 7 when it simply vanished. No distress signal, no explosion. One moment it was there on the sensors, the next moment it was gone. High Commander Vextar received the report in his command center on the occupied world of New Sol. 3 years had passed since the humans surrendered. The surviving colonists worked as slaves in the quantum mineral mines. Everything was going according to plan. Send another patrol ship to investigate, Vextar ordered. Probably just equipment failure. But it was not equipment failure, Lieutenant. Commander Yoon Seok Jin and his stealth team had been hunting hegemony ships for 2 months. They moved through space like ghosts, appearing from nowhere, striking without warning and disappearing before the enemy could react. The corvette Sol's Vengeance hung motionless in the shadow of an asteroid. Its hull was covered with adaptive camouflage that made it invisible to most sensors. Inside, Seok Jin studied the captured hegemony database. 15 supply convoys pass through this system every week, he told his team. Each convoy carries food and ammunition to their forward bases. Without supplies, their armies will starve. The humans had learned to fight without honor during the corporate wars. There were no rules in space, no referees to call fouls, no mercy for the weak. The hegemony would learn this lesson the hard way. The next supply convoy entered the system, right on schedule. 20 cargo ships protected by 5 escort vessels. The convoy commander was confident. This sector had been secure for months. The first sign of trouble came when the escort ships started exploding. Silent flashes of light in the darkness of space. By the time the convoy realized they were under attack, half their protection was gone. Seokjin's team moved like pack hunters. They targeted engines first to prevent escape, then communication arrays to stop distress calls. Finally, they boarded the cargo ships to steal everything useful. The surviving crew members were left floating in spacesuits with just enough air to think about their mistakes. The humans took the supplies and vanished back into the asteroid. Field Dr. Bae Soo-jin monitored the psychological effects from her command ship 3 systems away. She had been studying hegemony communications for weeks. Fear was spreading through their ranks like a disease. They are starting to call us the Silent Death, Soo-jin reported to Fleet Commander Kang Bo-young. Their soldiers refuse to go on patrol alone. Some units are deserting rather than face us. The Retribution fleet had split into hunting groups that moved through hegemony space like sharks through water. They did not conquer territory. They destroyed it. Every military base became wreckage. Every supply depot became empty space. Every enemy soldier became a floating corpse. Captain Song Ji-hai commanded the heavy assault group that hit the major hegemony worlds. The dreadnought, Incheon's Fury, would drop out of hyperspace above an enemy planet and start firing immediately. No warnings, no negotiations, just pure destruction. The planet Krextar had been a hegemony stronghold for 50 years. Its orbital defense platforms could stop any known fleet. Its surface cities housed millions of scarred civilians and soldiers. Ji-hai's assault group arrived during the middle of the night cycle. 12 human warships against an entire planetary defense system. The odds seemed impossible. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, Krextar was a dead world. Its cities were smoking ruins. Its orbital platforms were floating debris. Its population had been reduced to ash and memories. Target neutralized, Ji-hai reported to Admiral Hyunwoo. Moving to next. Objective. The humans fought like their homeworld had taught them. Earth had spent millions of years trying to kill anything that lived on its surface. Volcanoes, earthquakes, ice ages, asteroid impacts, climate changes that could freeze or boil entire continents. Only the most adaptable species survived on Earth. Only the smartest learned to use tools. Only the most determined spread across the planet and eventually reached the stars. Now those same survival instincts were focused on destroying the hegemony. The humans did not just want to win the war, they wanted to make sure no one ever threatened human colonies again. News of the attack spread through hegemony space faster than their ships could travel. Entire star systems surrendered rather than fight. Some species tried to quit the hegemony alliance, but it was too late. The humans had marked them all for destruction. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Hyunwoo watched the tactical display showing human victories across dozens of systems. Each red dot that turned blue represented another enemy world eliminated. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Park Jin-soo, "we are receiving surrender offers from 6 different hegemony species. They want to negotiate. No negotiations, Yunwu replied. They had their chance for peace 3 years ago. Now they get war. The hegemony leadership finally understood what they were facing. These were not the peaceful humans who had left Earth decades ago. These were the children of a death world that had forged them in the fires of constant struggle. Every human had ancestors who survived ice ages and meteor impacts. Every human carried genes that had been tested by millions of years of planetary disasters. Every human was descended from the most successful predators in Earth's history. The hegemony had attacked a human colony expecting easy victory. Instead, they had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. They had called forth the wrath of humanity's Deathworlders. High Commander Vextar stood in his command center watching his empire crumble. Enemy ships appeared without warning. His fleets were destroyed before they could fight back. His worlds burned while human voices laughed over the communication channels. For the first time in his life, the proud Skarn warrior felt true fear. Not fear of death, but fear of a species that seemed to enjoy killing more than his own people did. The humans were coming for New Sol, and nothing he had could stop them. The hunt was almost over. Kim Tae-ho knelt in the mud of the quantum mineral mine, his hands bleeding from 3 years of forced labor. The hegemony overseers had taken pleasure in making the former colony administrator work the deepest and most dangerous tunnels. Of the 50,000 humans who had called New Sol home, fewer than 10,000 remained alive. The rest had died from starvation, disease, or the casual cruelty of their captors. The Vorthak had fared even worse. The crystal beings were harvested for their rare mineral components. The planet's surface had been transformed into a fortress. 3 moons had been strip mined to provide materials for orbital defense platforms. The cities where human children once played were now military installations filled with hegemony troops. Tae-ho's scarred hands gripped the mining laser as he worked. His back ached from years of bending over in the tunnels. His eyes had adapted to the constant darkness. But his mind remained sharp, counting days and planning for a rescue that might never come. The message Dongwu had sent 3 years ago was their last contact with Earth. For all Tae-ho knew, the homeworld had forgotten about New Sol completely. Maybe Earth had problems of its own. Maybe no help was coming. High Commander Vexitar visited the mines every few weeks to remind the human slaves why they were still alive. On this day, he brought special news that made his reptilian features twist into what passed for a smile. Your rescue fleet has finally arrived, Vextar announced to the assembled prisoners. 50 ships from your precious Earth. They think they can challenge the might of the hegemony. Tae-ho felt his heart skip. Earth had not forgotten them. Somewhere above the planet's poisonous atmosphere, human warships were fighting to free New Sol. I want you to watch as your saviors die, Vextar continued. Then you will understand that humanity has no place among the stars. The Skarn commander activated a holographic display showing the space battle taking place in orbit. The human fleet looked tiny compared to the hegemony's massive defense network. Hundreds of enemy ships surrounded the planet like a metal storm cloud. But something was wrong with the display. The human ships were not behaving like any fleet Vextar had seen before. They moved independently, striking at seemingly random targets, disappearing and reappearing without pattern. Admiral Choi Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the tactical situation develop. New Sol was defended by the largest hegemony force ever assembled. Over 300 warships, orbital defense platforms, and surface-to-space missile batteries. Any conventional fleet would have been destroyed within minutes. But the Retribution fleet was not conventional. These ships and crews had been forged by the death world that created humanity. Deploy the gravity bombs, Hyun-woo ordered. Captain Song Ji-hai smiled as she received the targeting data. The dreadnought, Incheon's Fury, launched 12 gravity bombs toward the planet's largest orbital platform. Each bomb contained a miniature black hole that would expand on impact. The hegemony defenders watched in horror as their supposedly impregnable fortress was torn apart by forces that twisted space itself. Metal structures designed to withstand direct nuclear strikes crumpled like paper in a hurricane. Impossible, whispered Vextar, watching his defenses collapse. No species has gravity weapons. Humans do, Tejo said quietly. We learned to harness black holes because our sun will die someday. We plan for everything. The orbital bombardment lasted 30 minutes. When it ended, every hegemony installation in space was either destroyed or crippled. The path to the Coin planet's surface was clear. Sergeant Major Oh Min-ho led the first wave of Terran Marines toward New Sol's surface. These were not the peacekeepers who had left Earth decades ago. These were genetically enhanced soldiers who could survive in any environment. The drop pods fell through the atmosphere like metal rain. Each pod contained 10 Marines equipped with weapons that could punch holes through tank armor. Their mission was simple: kill every hegemony soldier on the planet and free the human prisoners. Minho's pod crashed through the roof of a Skarn barracks and opened immediately. He rolled out shooting, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to target multiple enemies before they could react. His squad spread out behind him, moving with deadly precision. The hegemony troops had been trained to fight conventional armies. They had no experience against humans who treated their own survival as optional if it meant completing the mission. These Marines would fight with broken bones, ignore pain that would cripple other species, and keep attacking until their hearts stopped beating. Colonel Nam Woo-jin commanded the urban warfare specialists who moved through New Sol's captured cities like shadows. His troops knew every street from studying pre-invasion maps. They knew which buildings to avoid and which ones to use for ambushes. The Skarn had ruled through fear for centuries. They understood intimidation and dominance. They had never faced an enemy that was more comfortable with violence than they were. Human soldiers appeared from sewers and ventilation shafts. They struck without warning and disappeared before counterattacks could be organized. They used the city's own infrastructure against its occupiers. In the quantum mineral mines, Tejo heard the sounds of battle getting closer. Explosions echoed through the tunnels. The hegemony guards were shouting orders in their guttural language, but their voices carried panic now instead of authority. The first human soldier Tejo saw in 3 years was a young woman with lieutenant stripes and eyes like ice. She moved through the mine tunnels as if she had been born underground. "Administrator Kim Tejo?" she asked, her voice calm despite the gunfire around them. "Yes," Tejo replied, hardly believing this was real. "Lieutenant Kim So-young, 3rd Marine Regiment, we're here to take you home." The battle for New Sol lasted 18 hours. When it ended, every hegemony soldier on the planet was dead. Not captured, not wounded, dead. The Marines had followed their orders exactly. The surviving human prisoners were loaded onto medical transport ships and given the best care available. Many were broken physically and mentally by their years of slavery, but they were alive and free. Dr. Park Min-ji was found in a laboratory where hegemony scientists had been experimenting on her knowledge of the Vorthak. She was thin and scarred, but her eyes still held the intelligence that had made her famous. "The Vorthak survivors are hiding in the deep caves," she told Admiral Hyun-woo. "The hegemony could never find them all." "We'll rebuild," Hyun-woo promised. "New Sol will be stronger than before." As the medical ships prepared to leave orbit, Tejo stood at a viewport watching his world shrink in the distance. New Sol was free, but the cost had been terrible. Most of his people were dead. His beautiful colony was in ruins, but Earth had not forgotten them. Across impossible distances, through years of silence, the message Dong-woo sent had reached home, and home had answered with the fury of humanity's deathworld nature. The Retribution fleet turned toward the hegemony core worlds. New Sol was just the beginning. The real war was about to start. Fleet Commander Kang Bo-young received her new orders, while the Retribution fleet refueled at the liberated New Sol. The message came directly from the Terran Dominion Council on Earth, signed by all 5 Supreme Commanders. The orders were simple but absolute. The hegemony is to be completely eliminated as a threat to human space. No exceptions, no survivors among leadership. Make an example that will be remembered for 1,000 years. Bo-young had expected negotiations after New Sol's liberation. She had expected the enemy to sue for peace. Instead, Earth wanted total war. The hegemony had made the mistake of attacking humans, and now they would learn what that truly meant. How many core worlds do they have? She asked her intelligence officer. 12 major systems, Admiral, each one heavily defended. Skarn Prime has over 2 billion inhabitants and orbital defenses that could stop a small fleet. Good, Bo Young replied. The bigger they are, the louder they fall. The campaign that followed was not warfare as most species understood it. The humans did not conquer territory to hold it. They destroyed it to make a point. Every hegemony world that had supported the attack on New Sol was marked for complete elimination. Captain Song Ji-hai led the assault on Skarn Prime, the capital world of the empire that had started this war. The dreadnought Incheon's Fury dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system accompanied by 15 other human warships. The Skarn home fleet was waiting for them. 300 warships arranged in perfect battle formation. Orbital, defense platforms that could shatter moons, surface-based weapons that could reach into space. Sir, reported Navigation Officer Lee Hyun-jin, enemy fleet is demanding our surrender. They say resistance is futile. Tell them we agree, Ji-hai replied with a cold smile. Resistance is futile, their resistance. The battle began when Incheon's Fury fired its main weapon, a concentrated beam of antimatter that could burn through anything in its path. The beam cut through the enemy formation like a sword through silk, destroying 6 ships before they could react. The human fleet spread out and began systematic destruction of the Skarn defenses. They did not try to preserve anything. Ancient cities that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to radioactive craters. Orbital shipyards became expanding clouds of debris. On the planet's surface, Marine Colonel Nam Woo-jin led urban warfare specialists through the capital city. The Skarn had built their metropolis to intimidate enemies with massive towers and imposing architecture. The humans were not intimidated. They moved through the city like a plague, destroying everything of military or political value. Government. Buildings collapsed in controlled explosions. Military bases became funeral pyres. No prisoners. Nam repeated the orders to his troops. The enemy leadership must be eliminated completely. The Skarn had ruled their empire through fear and violence for centuries. Now they experienced true terror as human soldiers hunted them through their own capital. These Marines moved like predators who had evolved to kill anything that threatened their pack. High Command Bunker 7 was supposed to be impregnable, built 3 kilometers underground and protected by energy shields that could stop nuclear weapons. The Skarn leadership had retreated there when the human fleet arrived. Colonel Nam's demolition expert, Sergeant Park Dong-hyun, studied the bunker's entrance with professional interest. Standard fusion-powered shielding, he reported, designed to stop brute force attacks. What do you recommend? Nam asked. We don't attack the shield, Park replied. We attack the ground under it. The humans drilled down 4 kilometers and planted gravity bombs in the planet's crust. When the bombs detonated, they created artificial earthquakes that cracked the bunker's foundation. The shield generators fell into the resulting chasm. The Skarn leaders died in their supposedly safe shelter, crushed by the weight of their own capital city. Similar scenes played out across the hegemony core worlds. The reptilian Vorthaki saw their ocean cities boiled away by underwater nuclear detonations. The insectoid Zephyrians watched their hive worlds collapse as humans introduced toxins that poisoned their entire reproductive cycle. Dr. Bae Soo-jin coordinated the psychological warfare campaign from her mobile command center. Her broadcasts reached every hegemony world simultaneously, showing the destruction of their capitals in real time. This is what happens when you attack human colonies, her message said in 12 different alien languages. Your leader started this war. Your people will finish paying for it. The terror was intentional and calculated. Earth wanted the galaxy to understand that humans protected their own with the fury of their death world nature. Any species that threatened human civilians would face extinction. Some hegemony members tried to surrender individually. The crystalline collective offered to pay tribute for 1,000 years. The methane breathers proposed to relocate their entire civilization to uninhabitable gas giant moons. Admiral Choi Hyun-woo rejected every offer. They made their choice when they joined the attack on New Seoul. Now they live with the consequences, or die with them. The systematic destruction continued for 6 months. 12 major star systems were reduced to empty space and floating debris. Billions of aliens died, but their deaths served a purpose larger than revenge. News of the hegemony's fate spread across the galaxy faster than human ships could travel. Species that had never heard of Earth suddenly knew that attacking human colonies meant total destruction. The message was clear and unmistakable. On the bridge of his flagship, Fleet Commander Bo Young watched the last hegemony stronghold burn in the void of space. Her fleet had accomplished something no military force in galactic history had ever done. They had completely eliminated an interstellar empire. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Yoon Tae-sung, "we are receiving surrender transmissions from 47 different species. They want to negotiate protection agreements." "Forward them to Earth," Bo Young replied. "Let the Dominion Council decide which ones deserve to live." The Retribution Fleet had done more than rescue New Seoul. They had announced humanity's arrival as the galaxy's apex predators. Every alien species now understood that humans were the children of a death world, forged by millions of years of struggle against their own hostile planet. The stars themselves had taken note of what happened when someone attacked a human world. The lesson would be remembered for generations, but the war was not quite over. There was still one more task to complete. 1 year after the last hegemony world became ashes in space, Dr. Park Min-ji walked through the rebuilt streets of New Seoul. The morning sun cast long shadows between buildings that gleamed with fresh metal and glass. Children ran past her, their laughter echoing off walls that had once been stained with blood. The colony looked nothing like the place she remembered from before the invasion. The new buildings were taller and stronger. Hidden weapon ports could emerge from any wall within seconds. Every street had underground shelters that could protect the entire population. New Seoul had been rebuilt as both a home and a fortress. Min-ji paused at the central marketplace where humans traded with the crystal beings called Vorthak. The silicon-based aliens had returned from their deep caves after the hegemony died. They brought with them seeds and genetic samples they had hidden during the occupation. A young human girl named Kim Yoo-jin was learning to communicate with a Vorthak child. The crystal being flashed colors that meant friendship and joy. Yoo-jin held up a light device and flashed back a simple greeting. Both children giggled at the exchange. "The young ones adapt faster than we do," said Governor Kim Tae-ho as he joined Min-ji at the marketplace edge. Tae-ho had been elected as the colony's new leader after his return from the slave mines. His hands still bore scars from 3 years of forced labor, but his eyes held the strength that had kept him alive. The people trusted him because he had suffered with them. "They have to adapt," Min-ji replied, watching the children play. "This galaxy is different now. They need to understand their place in it." A transport ship descended from the sky and landed at the spaceport. Admiral Choi Hyun-woo emerged from the vessel followed by a dozen officers in the gray uniforms of the Terran Dominion. The Admiral visited New Seoul every few months to check on the permanent garrison. 2,000 human soldiers now lived on New Seoul. They trained every day and maintained the orbital defense platforms that watched space above the colony. The planet would never be defenseless again. "Admiral," Tae-ho greeted him with a formal salute. "Welcome back to our world." "Governor," Hyun-woo replied, returning the salute. "How are our people recovering?" "Better every day," Tae-ho answered. "But they remember. We all remember." The 3 leaders walked to the memorial district where the names of 40,000 dead colonists were carved into black stone walls. Fresh flowers lay at the base of each section. Family members and friends visited daily to honor those who had died during the occupation. Hyun-woo placed a wreath made of earth roses at the central monument. The flowers had been grown in the colony's new greenhouses from seeds brought by the rescue fleet. They were a reminder that Earth had not forgotten its children among the stars. "The Dominion Council sends their respect," the Admiral said formally. "Your sacrifice awakened humanity to its true purpose in this galaxy." "And what purpose is that?" Min-ji asked. "To protect the innocent from those who would prey upon them," Hyun-woo answered. to show the universe that some things are worth fighting for with absolute determination. The simple message that Communications Officer Lee Dong-woo had sent 3 years ago had changed everything. His desperate plea for help had reached Earth during humanity's darkest period and given them a reason to unite, now that unity had made humans the most feared species in known space. In his office at the government center, Tae-ho reviewed the daily reports from across human space. 30 new colonies had been established in the past year. Each one was protected by warships and defended by soldiers trained on the death world called Earth. The aliens had learned to respect human territory. Pirates who once attacked merchant ships now avoided any vessel flying Earth's flag. Aggressive species that had terrorized weaker civilizations for centuries now lived in careful peace. Captain Song Ji-hai commanded the newest ship in Earth's fleet. The super dreadnought Eternal Vigilance carried enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. She had brought news from the galactic core that made Tae-ho smile with satisfaction. The Confederation of Free Worlds has officially requested human protection, she reported. 17 peaceful species want to join our defense alliance. They're offering tribute and trade agreements. What did Earth tell them? Minji asked. The same thing we tell everyone, Ji-hai replied. Live in peace and we will protect you. Attack the innocent and we will destroy you completely. It was a simple philosophy that had brought order to a chaotic galaxy. Weak species could develop their cultures without fear. Strong species had learned that there were consequences for bullying their neighbors. The balance was maintained by human fleets that patrolled every major trade route. In the colony's communication center, Officer Park Sung-min monitored the quantum relay network that connected all human settlements. The system carried millions of messages every day between colonies, trading posts, and military bases, scattered across hundreds of light years. The children of New Seoul would grow up in a safer universe than their parents had known. They would learn about the hegemony war in school, but they would never experience the terror of being helpless against alien predators. Late at night, Tae-ho stood on the observation deck of his residence and looked up at the stars. Somewhere among those distant suns, human colonies prospered under the protection of Earth's military might. Human children played safely because his people had paid the price to wake the sleeping giant. The Vorthok had a name for what happened after New Seoul's message reached Earth. They called it the Great Awakening, the time when the predators of the Third World realized their strength and used it to defend their pack. Other species had different names for the transformation: the Gentle Uprising, the Iron Peace, the Time of Human Fury. But the meaning was always the same. Earth's children had taken their place as the galaxy's guardians. Minji joined Tae-ho on the observation deck with 2 cups of hot tea. They stood together watching the lights of orbital defense stations move across the night sky like mechanical angels watching over their world. Do you think it will last? She asked quietly. This peace we've built with fear? As long as we remember the cost, Tae-ho replied. As long as we stay strong enough to protect what we love. The lesson had been written in fire across 12 star systems where the hegemony once ruled. When humans unite to defend their families, entire civilizations fall before their fury. When Deathworlders awaken to their true nature, the stars themselves take notice. The children playing in New Seoul streets would inherit a galaxy where attacking human colonies meant swift death, where Earth's response to any threat was overwhelming and absolute, where the message sent by a desperate communications officer had become the foundation of galactic law. The new order would endure as long as humans remembered who they were and what they were capable of when pushed too far. Peace through strength. Protection through fear. The way of the death world, written in starlight and sealed with alien blood.